Welcome back to a best of 7 series of top level StarCraft 2. What I've got for you today is a match featuring the GOAT. It's from the Esports World Cup, spawning right here in the top right hand corner. Game number 1, playing with the red Zerg pieces. We have none other than Serel. That's how he pronounces his own name. His opponent, though, down in the bottom left, playing with the blue SCVs. He goes by the name of Cure. Now, remember that series that I did cast recently between Cure and Rogue, and Cure made Terran look pretty overpowered. The Cyclone shenanigans and just the threat of the Cyclones existing, it really did make the entire matchup look pretty lopsided. Then again, though, Serel is just a little bit better than everybody else, it seems, right? And we've had a similar thing, too, where I did cast some games featuring Classic, where Classic absolutely destroyed the Zerg players across the board. And then obviously Serel, well, he faced off against Classic as well, and he made it look pretty straightforward. So we might very well have another series just like that on our hands. Now, like I said, this is from the EWC. I was one of the casters at the EWC, so sadly for me, I do know what ended up going down this particular series, but as per usual, journey before destination, right? It's always nice to have an in-depth look and figure out exactly what the players did whilst playing these games. And at this point, I mean, it's been a good couple weeks as well. I don't actually remember the exact ins and outs anymore, so I remember the results, obviously, but I don't actually remember exactly the strategies that the players ended up going for. I mean, to be fair, whenever I do cast from home, it's always a very different vibe anyways. Like when I'm casting over here on, well, right now what I'm doing, right? It's just a little bit different than casting at an official StarCraft 2 tournament. Either way, it is going to be a Reaper start here for Cure. No surprise whatsoever. Reaper into a Marine. And I'm assuming we're going to be going into a good old third hatchery before that Reaper can really get across the map. Serel, not messing around with that, like, gasless start. Notice how he is delaying the Zergling speed here in favor of a faster third hatchery. But he's not really skipping out on the gas mining altogether. That's what a lot of Zerg players have been doing lately. At least not in this game. Maybe he'll bring it out as well later on, but it is kind of cute. So he did mine 100 gas, so he can go for Zergling speed. Now we will indeed start it up, because we may as well, but if this would have been like a double barracks opener for Cure, say Cure made 2 barracks right over here and he would have gone like 3 Reapers, I think Serel would have started up the Zergling speed before the third hatch. So this is one of those classic Serel plays where he just kind of believes in himself being a little bit better than the opponents, because technically these middle of the road approaches are worse. Because you need to kind of make a commitment in StarCraft, right? Like you're basically sitting here with 100 gas that is doing nothing for like a half minute or so, and technically that is suboptimal. But Serel believes that he can probably get away with it. Yeah, it delays everything just a smidge, but it really doesn't matter that much. Now, curiously enough, and maybe this is one of the reasons actually, yeah, the Overlord is hiding behind the natural right over there, so, or behind the main base rather, than the natural right over here. So maybe we're going to be seeing that Overlord fly in from a bit of a different angle. Cure also not quite anticipating it. He does have a Marine patrolling the main base, but it's not going to be able to see this Overlord. Oh, Serel actually returns already. Okay, that's all he needed to know. Cure doesn't even know that he's been spotted. Very quick reaction right there by Serel. So the Overlord does have a little bit more vision radius than a orbital command or really any structure that is in production. So the Overlord has got a little bit more vision. Serel knows here that he has seen everything that he needs to. This can really only be a triple command center 1-1-1, and we'll have to see what sort of flavor of a follow-up it's going to be. Well, it's going to be Engie base. Serel doesn't yet know, but he's already preparing for both Mech as well as a bio follow-up by building up the Roach Warren here. Okay. Little plays that do make all the difference. So far, Cure is not really able to achieve too much, but the nice thing, of course, for this opener here, you don't really need to deal all too much damage as Cure. Triple Command Center is fantastic because not only do you get a lot of additional value here out of the Command Center, it also means that you can actually compete with the Zerg economy without being forced to deal a lot of damage. And Serel right now is going to see the additional Rex, so he knows exactly what he is playing against. This can't really be Terran Mech, so we'll have to see if the Roach Warren is even going to be used. Banshee over here gets pushed away. Interestingly enough, no Spore Crawler. That's kind of a crazy corner to cut. Especially if you do believe that you're the better player. I feel like making a Spore Crawler in every mineral line is kind of just your best case scenario. Because again, it's just going to keep you safe against practically everything. But apparently he believes that, well, with what he scouted, it's not really a concern. If there's no cloaking field, it can only be a single Banshee. Or at the very least, it's not going to be multiple Banshees flying around with cloak. And there's certainly no speed upgrade added into the mix right here for the Banshees. But oftentimes, having some Spore Crawlers in your mineral lines, though, can still be super useful as well later on against medevac drops and all the rest of it. But apparently, we're not concerned for that. Okay. Cure really not able to achieve much so far. Trying his best to get some sort of value. But already I kind of feel like he's got him pushed into the corner of the map. Now, he did go for the base, Serel that is, all the way in the top left-hand corner. A little bit odd. Generally speaking, as we do see a couple of creep tumors getting sniped, generally speaking, it's this base right over here that Zergs will go for as the fourth. There's a few different variations of barracks openers, and on this map, the 8 Rex build is extremely popular, mostly because the distance from the third base of Terran to what is normally the third or the fourth of Zerg is extremely short. But Serel already playing around that, it seems. He has decided to go for the base all the way in the top left. Now, still very attackable, but if Cure does not actually check this, if he does not actually see the base in the top left, he may start up a timing attack with what is indeed going to be an 8 Rex all-in towards this, like, blind location on the map. Like, he's checking right now. Okay, he's gonna see. There's no hatchery over here. He should move a unit towards the top left just to confirm where his next incoming push should be going. This is not really the type of follow-up that has a lot of wiggle room for Cure. Like, you need to do something with this. This is a drop that should be going to the top left. This is not really something that you can just... Well, you can put another command center down, obviously, if you really want to, but you'll put yourself behind quite a lot. The main problem is that Serel has got... he's got Ultralisks on his mind, he's got Vipers on his mind. Like, you are on a timing here for Cure, because if Zerg hits all of those good hive-tech upgrades, you're just going to be in so much trouble. Now a hatchery does start up over here, but that's almost bait. Cure sees it? He still doesn't know about the expansion all the way in the top left. Actually, a bit of a problem. If Cure assumes that this is the fourth, he is in for a nasty surprise. Because that will change just the pacing of this entire game so much. He did, by the way, go for the variation where you build up a bunch of tech labs on these barracks. So there's a few different flavors of the 8 Rex all-in again as well. This particular one, it has add-ons. I think it's because it's a roach opener here for Serel, so he wanted to make some more Marauders. If you want to go for the Marine variant, you kind of do have to get a move on a little bit sooner. So you don't really have time to add on the tech labs, but here we go. Big attack, though, from Cure. I think Serel, though, is in a great position to potentially defend this. Perfect timing as well on the Zerglings here on the right side of the map, and not enough time for Cure anymore to raise the supply depot, so the Lynx are going to be just flooding all over the base. This is a situation, though, where, like, Cure is now hunting an expansion here from the Zerg that really doesn't matter. Like, Serel doesn't care about that base. Now, this is good. Nice trap right here by Cure. Those Zerglings couldn't go anywhere. So, ultimately, he does end up dealing quite a bit of damage. Siege tank here on the other side of this cliff. Also, though, dealing a lot of damage to the Marines themselves. Okay, Serel's just giving up on that base. And I think at this point, Cure will realize that something is not quite right. Blinding clouds could be coming in. We have the Zerglings retreating back home to wrap around those siege tanks. Fight takes place pretty deep off creep. Serel decides to pull back. Absolute disaster here for Cure, though. Like, he's in a completely wrong location on the map. This fight should be happening in the top left. Abductions right now being used as well, and Serel doing Serel things right here in the first game of this series. Just looking a step ahead of the competition. Honestly, pretty much perfect game right here from the finisher so far. I mean, I'm sure that if you look at everything in isolation, you could come up with a few improvements. But strategically, macro-wise, micro-wise, all of the timings here, it's pretty much perfect. Hard to really criticize anything important. Cure, big oversight. He did not check the base in the top left. And therefore his attack was going in the entirely wrong direction. He's been dealing with the counterattacks quite nicely. But he doesn't have an easy way to transition out of this. We're still on 3 command centers. Okay, he's running in. He wants to kill the hatch. Doesn't even get the job done. At least I guess there's no abductions available for these medevacs to get stolen. But I mean, there would be abductions, but really no way for the Zerg to follow it up with much. Serel in the driver's seat right now. Now, it looks like we're gonna go for the most conservative follow-up possible. I've got a feeling that he could try and win the game right now by quite literally just attack moving. But he's decided not to take any chances. He's gone for the +3/+3 upgrades and the Ultralisk Cavern. Now, this is one of the things where I can maybe criticize Serel a little bit. There's technically nothing wrong with this, but he does this so frequently that it sometimes becomes a bit too predictable. 0 risks taken, right? I mean, maybe you don't need to. Again, pretty much a perfect cleanup. It is about time, though, to get rid of the roaches. Roaches are kind of useless. They were good as a stepping stone earlier on, but right now they should be replaced with, well, either more Lingbane or Ultras or even Hydras, although in this particular instance, there is no Hydra then. I think Serel's looking at this game right now, and he's seen, okay, you are not making an attempt for a 4th, so he's got vision over here for one of the 4th base locations. He's got vision over here as well at the bottom of the map. He sees that there is 0 attempt being made here by Cure to try and actually take those bases. So he's saying, yo, okay, perfect. I don't care. I will mine 5-6 bases if I need to. That's exactly what he's doing right now. He's all the way up to 6. And I will just get so many upgrades. I will make such a big bank that you're never going to be able to win the game here. Even though technically you're going to be able to max out again and you're going to be able to do a push with +3/+3. Off of 3 bases, you can't really go Mass Liberator. You can't really go into Ghosts very easily. I will just chill and take it easy. Now still though, this is a scary Terran army. And it's still a very losable spot, right? Like if you're not careful as Zerg here, you can still get overwhelmed. Now already though, there is a massive flood of Lings trying to go in for the wraparound. Blinding Clouds are decent. There's some more, though, on the bridges right now, and those really do make things easier. Some of the replaced supply is going to be Ultras. There is not an answer for Ultralisks at the moment. 4th Command Center, in the meantime, was made, but there's a pesky little Zergling there at the 6 o'clock position, trying to break all of this down. Honestly, about the best-case fight right here for Cure. Those late-game upgrades really helping him, and finally, he manages to kill that hatchery that he tried killing a while ago already. Then again, Serel already built a 7th hatchery. So that one just finished up. Those drones are going to have more places to mine from. But Cure is thinking about sitting around here on this section of the map for a little bit longer. I don't know if he can do that. Serel decides to engage before the Ultralisk spawn. That's a little bit risky. Come on, guys. You should probably join in right over here. No, he doesn't even need it. Reinforcing Terran units, though, are now stimming across. Looks like an all-army hotkey stim pack right here from Cure. Maybe a little bit greedy, but he needed the reinforcements right here, right now. Infestors here as well for Serel right now. Man, this is gonna feel really awful as Cure. Because, like, nothing you've done so far in this game has actually gone according to plan. Like, nothing's gone terribly wrong either. It's just that you know every single step so far that you've taken has given the opponent like a 10% of an additional lead. And while none of this is like irrecoverable, right? This is still certainly a losable game for Zerg. It just kind of feels like you're climbing a mountain right now. Like, where do you go? You're effectively now relying on Serel making big errors. And look at this. We have the Ravagers in position before the Liberator showed up. That's dirty. Where in the world did the... Okay, well, anyways. I'm gonna be accused of being a Serel fanboy again. Look, I am a bit of a Serel fanboy. Likewise, I'm also a bit of a Cure fanboy. I'm ultimately just a fan of very high-level StarCraft. And currently, there's no one doing it better than Serel. It's just on another level. It's just... I don't know, man. Like, you look at this and you wonder what you can do. Look at this fungal. Whew. That's pretty hot. More fungals? Okay. Maybe a bit of an overextension here, but he got what he came for. 4th command center gets denied. There was no anti-air there for Zerg other than corrosive biles. So Cure should have canceled that and lifted up the orbital. Or I think he was trying to make a planetary. He should have canceled it and just lifted up the command center. Either way, it's these mistakes that just add up over the course of a game. Now, there is a new mining base over here on the left, but that's because the old main base has made a trip. And that is when things are a little bit desperate. Zerg trying to come in from a couple different sides. Perfect fungal growth again. And while... Oh, another orbital dice. While Cure made Rogue look like a bit of a pleb, Serel is doing the same thing to him right here in game number 1. That is the type of game that I picture when I play ladder. Like in my mind. And then when I actually do play ladder, it doesn't work out like that at all. But that's the type of game that basically any Zerg player aspires to play. Already a better start right here from Cure. He recognized that indeed it was a pretty quick gas opener in the previous game, but then also a fast third hatchery. It was a little bit odd. Serel purposely mining 100 gas, but then not starting up the metabolic boost upgrade. This time around, he decided to keep the SCV in close proximity. That's the scouting worker, and now the third hatch gets delayed for a while. Eventually, Brenda and Karen, they will show up. Now, they're kind of thick, so they may body block the hatchery itself. It's a little bit annoying, but there we go. Still, though, it's a good start here for Cure, because the queens can do things with their energy right now. They're all the way up to 30, I don't know, like 40 or so, but like 35, 40 or so by the time they get back. They can inject, they can put down a creep tumor at 25. So a good delay here by Cure across the board, and he didn't really pay for anything there. Didn't lose anything, so not a bad start. There are a bunch of Zerglings, though, that snuck around the side. This is, by the way, now a quick Roach Warren opener, and Serel did decide to skip the Zergling speed. Maybe anticipating a little bit of Mech play this time around. We'll have to look and see exactly what he decides to go for. Cure, that is, because this is triple CC 111 for the time being. I love this little move out, though. But new Zerglings, or new Hellions, rather, are going to spawn. And, well, these new Zerglings are going to get destroyed. A little bit of a Zergling barbecue. Dinner is served for the units here. Okay. Cloaking Field. For Cure. Last game, Serel decided to delay those Spore Crawlers for an extremely long time. He did not have them at all, but I think it's because, like, he didn't have them at all in time for the Banshees. But I think it was mostly because he wanted to make sure that... Nice wall. He wanted to make sure that he was okay. And he scouted, of course, that the opponent didn't go for the quick cloaking upgrade. Now he's not scouting, so I wonder if that means that we are going to be seeing a blind counter to it. Already, though, the lair here is about 2/3 of the way done. So Overseers can be made as well by the time that cloak is done. So... yeah, the lair is going to be done in time. Should technically be okay, but it's still kind of risky to rely on Queens and Overseers alone. I always like the Spore Crawlers. 1 drone. 2 drone. 3 drone. 4. Nope. Misclick. Oh, okay. We get 5 in the end. The misclick did not matter too much, but... it always sucks when you lose the unit seconds before cloak. And now I wonder if, like, this is actually good here for Cure, right? I mean, it was good until he lost the Banshee. And I feel like the Banshee loss right there, especially when you do invest into Cloak, is the great equalizer. Because Banshees work together very nicely when you have 2 of them. Yeah, exactly, because with the 2 of them, you can one-shot drones. But right now, Cure kind of has to keep this second one here on idle as well. You can use it for base defense, maybe. But it's unlikely that it's going to be able to put in a lot of work. Although Serel did decide to skip out on the Spore Crawler here at the 3rd, so you never know. Already, though, we have a little hit squad of ladies. Some queens together with an Overseer. They seem to be on the same control group. Does he see the little blur? No. Perfect positioning again. Man, the army movement here by Serel has just been so freaking smooth. Ay, ay, ay. He cancelled the Spore Crawler in the main base too, by the way. He is now building 2 of them, skipping out on the natural, because when you think about it, what are the odds of the, I don't know, the Banshee going around this way and then maybe going south towards the natural? May as well skip out on it. All right. Now Cure once more, playing good old Bio Terran here. Apparently not confident when it comes to playing against Terran Mech here. Or playing Terran Mech rather against Serel, so I'm curious to see if he wants to do an 8-Rex follow-up again, or if we are going to be going into a 4th command center. This map is not nearly as easy to 8-Rex on. You can 8-Rex on any map, but I mean, Ultra Love, the map we were just on, right, is kind of like the perfect map for it. Banshee is just here to protect the watchtower, but it can never actually control the tower by itself. You need a ground unit in order to activate it. Maybe flying units should be able to activate watchtower. I don't know. Okay. So it is indeed an 8-Rex, but we have a very fast 4th command center on the back of this too. Cure not ready to double down into another one of those all-ins. But he certainly needs to deal damage with this type of attack. Because again, Serel's going to be going into Ultras here, it looks like. He's going to be going into the Zergling speed, the Baneling speed, the Vipers, of course. Adrenal Glands will not be far behind, and I'm assuming Ultras will be following all of that as well. And if he fancies it, he may very well get a few Infestors too. It just becomes so difficult to make these attacks work. Do we have only one factory here? Yeah, it's just a single factory. Normally with a 4th command center build, you do go for a 2nd factory. Usually it's built over at the 3rd base, but this is Cure basically just playing pure Marine Marauder. Okay. The creep spread is looking pretty ridiculous so far, especially the left side. This base feels pretty much impenetrable. I like this though from Cure. He's now sending his units over towards the top right. 4th command center should be done. Yep, there we go. We should send that over towards the 4th base location. When you have the 4th base up and running, that's usually when you go into... You can go into like the Liberator production. You can go into the Ghosts if you want to. But Cure will first have to deal some sort of damage with this push. Vipers are out though. Vipers are going around the side. Blinding Clouds get thrown on top of 3 of the 4 siege tanks. This is a dead end, Jimmy. You can't go anywhere. Easy cleanup again for Serel. It's this middle of the road approach here from Cure that I don't really love. Like, yeah, maybe it can be a misread from Serel, but if Serel attacks right now, I think this 4th base is toast. It looks like Serel decides to give him the benefit of the doubt, though. And that could actually be a misread here, right? So Serel has seen the 4th command center. That's something. But I believe there's going to be a timing window again where Ultras can look pretty broken. That again, does he even have an Ultra Cavern? No, decides to skip it. Even a little bit of micro there against the Widowmine on that one roach. Ay, ay, ay. Mitigating all splash damage. I think we're just gonna blow up the CC. This is effectively in place of Ultras. Yeah. Good enough. What about this retaliation though from Cure? Blinding Cloud against Bio also works. Blinding Cloud basically reduces the range to 1. So any structure, any unit. Oh no. Natural expansion wide open here too. Banelings decide to just hit up the, well, a couple of the supply depots just to get some damage done. Fungal growth as well in the far bottom left-hand corner. Serel is everywhere here, and he's, well, dedicating his attention there pretty nicely, right? Maybe this army can eventually get some sort of damage done. I feel like this is the first time that Cure actually gets real work done in this game, and if I can be so critical, Serel should be spending his money. Oh, he doesn't have Larva, that's the problem. So maybe he was thinking about making an Ultralisk Cavern. With Ultras, you don't need a lot of Larva. He's got 2,000 resources, more even in the bank, but he currently can't spend it. And that's a problem. Now suddenly, Cure is thinking about counterattacking again towards the bottom left. He's probably wondering why suddenly these fights are going way better for him. It's because Serel is mismacroing. He decided to go Hydras rather than Ultras, and that's why this attack is actually working out quite nicely. He simply didn't have the larva generation to be able to support an army like this. Cure, though, decides to strike while the iron is hot, and that's exactly what he needs to do. He's getting so much value right now. Dropping the main base also looks like it will be able to snipe the Hive, and suddenly everything is starting to fall apart right here for Serel. He played a near perfect first 10 minutes. But then we get a lesson in fragility, I suppose. The fragility of Zerg. Look, when you play a Lingbane Hydra-based army, it's relatively cheap in minerals and gas. At least for, like, individual units. But it's very expensive in larva. And while Ultras are very expensive units, they're very cheap in larva. It is a third resource that you have to consider as Zerg. And Serel clearly did not make a macro hatchery there in time. Maybe he missed a round of Queen Inject, who knows. But he was not prepared. Okay, now the Zergling run by tries to achieve some damage. Burrow here as well is pretty nice. It's only a handful of Zerglings. Good to buy some time with. Lurker then coming up right now, but Serel has been put in the passenger seat right now. Cure has to try and, yeah, just keep pushing here. I don't really think he's got much of a choice. It's also a perfect time, though, for Cure to really now secure this fourth base, right? So one of the weird parts about this is that Serel was sitting on a bit of a bank, but he couldn't spend his money. So it becomes a bit of an odd game to read as well, because from Cure's point of view, he may assume that Serel is mostly broke. Because he didn't make army earlier, why would he possibly be sitting on a bunch of resources? It doesn't make any sense. So if he believes he can keep playing Marine Marauder, Medevac, Mine, basically any unit that starts with the letter M, right? Like if he can keep playing that, I mean, if he believes he can win the game with it, it would make a lot of sense. But Serel has got a ton of resources left over from earlier, and he's now spending that on going into Lurkers. If you assume here that Zerg has been broke for the last 5 minutes, a Lurker transition is pretty much impossible. I think now he's seen them, though, or at the very least he realizes that something weird has happened in this game. Yep, he sees the Lurkers. You can see his gut instinct immediately is to back up. This is only 2 Lurkers. I guess the fungal growth here is scarier, right? Parasitic bombs, fungal growths, blinding clouds, and 2 Lurkers. Can't really blame the man for running away immediately. I think he had a great opportunity, though, to transition towards this additional starport a little bit quicker. What about this push in the bottom left? The Hydras are actually packing quite a punch, but against 3-3 Bio, yeah, they are certainly not favored. Still, though, the numbers are benefiting Zerg greatly here. It's so funny how such a small army of units can actually just stop the entire push from Terran, or at the very least it's scaring Cure way off. It's mostly because he's just stuck on early game troops here. He can't really fight this army. Nah. Serel's trying to get this army to go home. This is the Zerg equivalent of shouting to get off your lawn. 5th base is right now available, though, here for Cure. He's going to be building up a planetary in the far top right. And now he does decide to go into that Liberator production. Then we have a second starport? I thought we did. We have 3 starports, even. Ah, okay. They're finishing up their add-ons right now. Cure could have done this a minute or 2 ago, though. Like, he's actually quite late with this transition here. I think it's because he was a bit confused there why Serel suddenly didn't have money anymore, and then it turned out he did have money, it was just low on larva. I think he had an opportunity there to make this transition quicker, because now we've transitioned from Cure being the full aggressor to now being forced to be passive because he needs to start up like a reactionary response to seeing the Lurker switch. Now he's finally got it out, though, and maybe he can actually get some damage done still. Nice snipe there on the hatch, no cancel. With a large enough of a group of Liberators, I mean, this is a Zerg army that is very killable. No Ghost is always a curious choice. What about these Fungals, though? Nice transfuses as well by the Queens, just trying to keep these Lurkers alive. And yeah, while it is a bit of a wash in the army here eventually, I consider that a win for Zerg. Mostly because Serel just needs to get this army to, again, disappear. So he's given more time to breathe. All the man wants to do is switch towards a bunch of Lurkers and go into a Nidus Worm. Okay. No Spire available for Serel. So abductions are probably going to be his best bet here against those Liberators. Abducting the Liberators into Hydralisks, that is. Still, Cure can technically dominate the entirety of the battlefield with Liberators pretty much exclusively. Here's the big problem, though. Zerg is ready to strike back again, and Lurkers in the main base are always annoying. Some good Blinding Clouds do go down over here, but the Marines and the Marauders are starting to break through. It's a risky play, and again, most of the Terran army seems to disappear. Medevacs have no energy. Looks like this Nidus Worm, for now at least, was fake, as there's nothing to be transferred. Liberators show up, but at least Cure had to go all the way back to the top left-hand corner of the main base to try and, well, deal with this. And it's giving Serel the opportunity to maybe hit at the front instead. Okay. Serel fighting back in this game. In my mind, though, this is still looking really, really solid here for Cure. But it is not looking as solid as it was like 5 minutes ago. 5 minutes ago, it seemed like he had the game in the bag. Right now, well, life is just a little bit more complex. We are now arriving into like a proper late game territory. The age of like the timing attack is pretty much over at this point. Both players are going to be maxed out in upgrades soon, and it'll all be coming down to multitasking. Maybe Cure can still pull off a parade push straight through the middle. Another Nidus Worm does get denied. Lurkers have decided to just walk towards the top right-hand corner. Nidus Worm over here in the cul-de-sac as well on the left side. Cure does have vision of it. Nice push here as well, though, by Cure. It's very important when Zerg starts playing like this that you don't just give them all the map control. Still, though, you have to also be very careful walking your bio army into the Lurkers while you're trying to deal with everything else. Parasitic bombs are here. Hydras dash forward. Serel shuts down all of those Liberators in the only way he could see possible. Really, I mean, without Corruptors, it's so incredibly hard to actually get the job done. Somehow, some way, that Liberator shot over here disappeared. Needs to get a follow-up scan. Serel's still a danger, even when behind, and I think at this point we can once more consider this to be a Zerg advantage. Cure has let this game slip out of his fingers. Serel's multitasking has picked up. We're coming up on 500 average actions per minute. Serel just overpowering his opponent here with the sheer amount of speed. I really like that Hydra lunge ability in this type of game, man. Ay, ay, ay. It's actually really quite good in these niche scenarios. In the past, you were always forced to make a transition towards Liberators in these kind of, or sorry, towards Corruptors against those Liberators in this type of position, but Serel showing us that maybe the Hydra lunge ability is not really a good substitute, but it's better than nothing. Small little hit squad over here as well, dealing with that Nidus Worm again on the left. Serel's got his eyes set over here, and this is really the lifeline right now of Cure, and I don't think he's going to be able to keep this expansion alive. He wants to try his best, but within seconds, the planetary fortress disappears, and likewise, so will the Lurkers. Lurkers, though, not on the right side of the map, so that means, of course, that Serel's going to have to defend over here, but Fungal Growth still coming in clutch around the map. Parasitic bombs. Ay, 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 ay. The fact that he actually moved that Infestor in position is nuts. Very, very cool. Here's the problem, though, for Cure now. We're 20 minutes in. Cure is starving. Third base over here is running low. Fourth base, even though it got denied once with a Ling Bane run by, this one is also going to start running low. Expansion in the top right is really the only reliable mining for the next 10 minutes or so, but it's going to be difficult to really properly secure it. Likewise, though, Serel isn't rich. Nice snipe right here by Cure as he gets rid of another one of those bases. Knight is in the top left-hand corner. This time around is not empty. And this is one of the most annoying things that you have to deal with sometimes as a Terran player. It takes so much attention to try and deal with lurkers like this. I mean, with Liberators, it's pretty easy, I suppose. But it still is not an easy job to just clean up. Zerg just unloads and burrows. Terran has to put in a lot more effort. He was hoping that this was going to be a distraction, I believe, as we have another nice fungal to try and go after the base in the top right. So far, not really possible yet, but Serel checks, and he sees indeed that it's not a planetary this time around. Nidus Worm gets put up right over here. Zerg army once more ready to move in. I don't think there's enough Marine Marauder Medevac remaining in this section of the map to really shut this down. Liberator's no longer present over here. As soon as that army disappears, though, we have the Nidus Worm in the top left that we have to be concerned of. Now the Hydras are going to town as well. 13 SCVs have died. In the meantime, Cure is not striking back anywhere else. Parasitic bombs are on point. Serel fell behind. But it's because of his own misplay. He should have made a macro hatchery, and this situation would have been entirely avoided. He could have also thrown down Ultralisks instead, and I think we also would have never been in this spot. Either way, he crawls back and he obtains another win. Next up, we find ourselves on Pylon. A Zerg versus Terran on Pylon? Sounds illegal. We're fighting over Protoss territory, I suppose. Anyways, Serel kind of overcomplicating his own game in the previous one. Maybe he got so bored of winning, he's like, you know what? I'll do my own challenge run. How about I make the game harder for myself to keep it all interesting? You don't want to be winning too hard. It would just be annoying at that point. No, a little bit of a sloppy follow-up right there. By accident, I guess, with Serel. He probably missed a round of injects. Either that or he was supposed to make a macro base, but he just never did. Or he wanted to, go ultras, but he forgot putting down the ultra cavern. It's one of those relatively easy to solve mistakes, you know? It's not really rocket science. But it still makes the game pretty tricky. Well, it's going to be a triple hatch, a 1-1-1 right here from Cure. What a crazy idea. This is a hatchery, by the way. I guess we can call orbital commands hives. And then planetaries can be lairs. How about that? Anyway, Hellion production is going to kick in here. And Cure will soon be roaming the map once again. I would love to see a little bit of early game aggression here as well from Serel. It's just not really his style. He mixes it in from time to time. Especially when you're 2-0 ahead though. It kind of feels like a perfect opportunity in a best of 7. To maybe try and throw in a cheapo, you know? Try and throw in an easy win. If you win with a dirty cheese in game number 3 of a best of 7, I think the best of 7 is in the bag. Obviously, you would still need to one map, but at that point, your opponent is going to be... may as well fly the command center to the corner of the map right at the very start. Sadly, we don't see that anymore, man. Very little BMing, actually, at the highest level of StarCraft. It's a good thing, because all the pro gamers get along very well. But it would be so funny if at some point somebody is so salty they just decide to lift up the orbital command and hang it in a corner and force the opponent to make anti-air. That used to be more of a thing back in the very early days. When most of the pro gamers were still angsty teenagers, but... These days, they, get along, and they're, friends and stuff. It's, very annoying. It's so funny, actually. For the EWC, Oh, we have Terran Mech here. Nice. For the EWC, we had a media day right before the tournament began. So, basically, the full day before the actual tournament. We had some media duties, and then also, rehearsals and all the rest of it. But one of the media day things that I ended up doing with the pro gamers... is do a little short interview with them. And the final question that the production had written down for the interview was to do a strong one-liner. Right? So the idea was that the pro gamers were going to say something like, I am going to destroy everybody. Now it turns out getting the pro gamers to give an aggressive one-liner is not easy. Most of them would give something along the lines of, I hope I can show what I have practiced. It's like, no, that's not what we're looking for, man. We want something a little bit more aggressive. It's like, well, I hope I perform well at this tournament. It's like, no, that's... We need something a little bit more clickbaity than that. Ultimately, some of them were actually pretty cool. And they used them quite a lot throughout the production. But it's just so funny, because a lot of the guys are just very nice. None of them are shouting about how they're gonna, like, destroy the opponent and will be jumping on their court. Like, they're not doing a whole lot of that, generally. It's also funny because some of them clearly didn't want to be there for the media day. You're just kind of sitting down there, you're like, oh god, here we go. Another interview, ugh. It's so funny. Like, everybody does it in the end, right? But you see this a lot as well in conventional sports, I've noticed. In Formula 1, for example, I'm pretty sure if Max Verstappen could decide to not do any interviews anymore for the rest of his career, he would certainly choose to go ahead and never do one of those ever again. All right, anyways, what do we have right here on Pylon? Well, it's been a bit of a slower early game. Mostly because Cure is building up his mech army. So look, we already have a 4th command center building, and he is playing full Terran mech. So this is not even Cyclone mech. Maybe we're gonna be seeing a Cyclone switch here eventually. But we're mostly just trying to do a good old vanilla mech. It's Hellions together with siege tanks. 1-1 upgrades coming up as well. Yep, we are playing a super passive approach right here. And this is kind of a cool style. I recently did cast a series as well where it was Raynor going up against Kalim. Raynor off racing with Terran, and for some reason Raynor went up against Kalim's Zerg. It was a little bit cursed, but either way, in that particular series, we also had several games that looked like this, where Raynor decided to play this very, well, in my mind, old school approach of Terran mech. Back in the day, people would also mix in Thors. Now, Thors, sadly for all of us, not very popular anymore in the current meta. I kind of miss them. They're actually a very cool unit, but... Oh, barbecue? A little bit of a barbecue. Blue flame about a third of the way done. A lot more of those Zorklings would have been roasted, but... Okay. There are some good positions on this map where you can catch the Zerg player off guard. For now, though, Serel is doing Serel things. He's really just trying to play the late game here. Just survive, 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 and then eventually overwhelm. That's the general approach. So he's already going up to 5 base saturation. We have the Vipers coming up. He's going for a full glass cannon army. So after researching +1 carapace and 1 of the Evo chambers, he's going +2 melee and +1 missile. There's a Spire coming up. Okay, fair enough. But this is mostly just a damage-focused army, right? And again, this is the type of army that requires a lot of larva generation. So look, this is what we should have had in the previous game. It's a hatchery not attached to a mineral line, purely for the larva. Still though, Cure is basically going for the bulldozer army. This is the I'm going to delete everything approach. He will have 1 shot, 1 opportunity to seize everything he ever wanted. Well, actually, that's not entirely true. He can definitely transition out of this as well and maybe do like a 2nd shot. He will have 2 shots. 2 opportunities to seize everything he ever wanted. 2 moments. Will he capture it or will he let it slip? That's the question. Will you do the same thing twice? Or do you basically try something stupid the first time around knowing that you still have a 2nd shot anyways? Or do you just like throw the spaghetti all over your shirt before the game even begins? So many questions. Ooh. Serel was thinking about making some big Zergling drops happen on the other side of the map, but he is going to need every single unit at home here in just a moment. Blue Flame Hellions very good at the defense too, but Cure is going into one of those very scary parts of the map. How in the world do you break this? Well, I know how. It's Brute Lords, but we don't have Brute Lords, so without Brute Lords, how in the world do you break this? Well, a run by to maybe buy yourself some time to get Brute Lords going is good, but slowly but surely, the Siege Tank army is leapfrogging forward. He's unsieging some of them, reinforcing as well. Unsieging some in the back though, moving them forward. Blinding Clouds are only gonna be... No. This is not it, Serel. Blinding Clouds can only catch so much. This is a big counterattack though. And 21 SCVs here on the back of this is honestly massive. The fact that Serel even dealt any damage here is honestly a mistake from Cure. It's super easy to clean up Ling run bys with a mech army like this. I mean, you just leave a couple of Blue Flame Hellbats behind, and you never take any damage. 21 SCVs is painful, and it is kind of putting a little asterisk to this attack. Because now the Hellions have decided to come back home. Even though the fight over here was about the best case scenario for Cure, he can't really capitalize on it. Serel, though, could have had Vipers together with Brute Lords at this point. He decided to go for the faster reinforcements instead. He bought himself so much time, though. He probably did not anticipate the entirety of the Terran army going back like that. Either way, we have another counter. I would imagine this one's not going to be as successful, but again, some all-army hotkeying right there by Cure. Blinding Clouds, though, trying to hit some of the clumped-up siege tanks. It's not a bad engagement, but it's looking like this hatchery is eventually going to get destroyed. Serel wants to go in for more. He really wants to keep this base alive. The problem is if this one's gone, then it's likely that this expansion is going to be following it next. I mean, so far the Biles have been extremely effective. Cure, somehow, some way, really struggling with a few Zorklings. I feel like he is spending way too much attention on something that really shouldn't be that hard. Serel keeps sending in reinforcements. He keeps burrowing them. Even though this fight over here happened like 4 minutes ago. Okay, maybe more like 2. Feels like it's been like 4 minutes, though. The hatchery is still up and running. I feel like this should have been sealed a while back. Corrosive balls are good. Clumped up tanks are not. In the meantime, there's many other mineral fields available for those drones to continue mining anyway. Serel actually is kind of looking like he might just be able to clean this up with more reinforcements showing. It is going to be Ravager, Ling, Bane, a super expensive army, but off of 85 workers, you can reinforce it. Constant Zergling run-bys, though. Anytime there's an all-army hotkey and these units get pulled away, there we go again. The Zerglings will be able to unburrow. Blinding Clouds get thrown down. Corrosive Balls also fly from the high heavens. At least the Vipers will get chased down for the most part, although not all of them. Another all-army hotkey right there by Cure, really overcomplicating everything. There's the Zerglings again, unburrowing. And I'm kind of getting the vibe here that Cure is just not feeling like he's... I'm kind of getting the vibe here that Cure just doesn't believe he can actually win. Like, the way that he controls his army around kind of feels like he is not... There's zero confidence. So much damage has been done on the other side of the map, man. 33 SCVs. All of this should have been way quicker for Cure. The fight should have killed the hatchery much sooner. And the run-by damage should have been negated pretty much entirely. Okay. Either way, this is still a great spot, though, for Terran. So, as the dust settles, it's still not terrible. These Zerglings, man. Way too much damage. Can we just, like, make a fudging bunker? Could we... Even the caster is getting frustrated. Cure is... Can we just make a bunker here, man? Leave a few units behind. I mean, I know we're not playing Mech, but... Or we're not playing Bio, but geez, let's just leave a few units, dude. Okay. We have one pesky Ravager here in the back. It's the one unit that can rain corrosive biles outside of range of the siege tanks. Super annoying. Not actually easily dealt with at all. Again, he's all-army hotkeyed a few too many units away. Now Serel's thinking, yo, you seem to be struggling with fights over there. What about I move into the main base instead? Parasitic Bomb on the Vikings. Good fight over here, though. Those siege tanks are just dealing so much damage. Ling drop in the main. It's mostly siege tanks for now. And these are Zerglings with +3 and adrenal glands. Additional units, though, do pop out, and those Hellions especially, right? Okay, this is good for Cure. Clumped up units again, loses way more than he needs to. I feel like the Corrosive Biles. Whenever you see Corrosive Biles killing multiple units, it should have been negated. Siege tanks here again, left by themselves. A lot of damage coming out of those Zerglings. That's another -3 tanks. The Ravager still just biling away. It's got 6 confirmed kills, not a whole lot, but better than nothing. 1 Brute Lord coming up as well. Zergling drop goes back into the main base. Zergling run by once more also coming in. Let's do a little bit of first-person view, because Serel seems to be managing everything quite nicely. Scouting around right now. Blinding Clouds over here to open up the opportunity for some Corrosive Biles there. He's not really paying attention much to the Zergling drops. Still checking in with them every once in a while. Transitions right now towards Brute Lords. That was a round of injects. In case you're wondering if maybe you lost the plot for a little bit there. That was Serel injecting like 8 bases in a matter of, I don't know, a tenth of a second. The Brute Lord switch here is going to hit hard. I'm going to take control of the camera again because this is kind of annoying. The Brute Lord switch is going to hit hard. Zergling's going in around the site, though. Problem is, this Terran army, right, is... again, so many clumped up units. This Terran army is really strong, but it doesn't have a lot of anti-air. So that's where the Thors are good. If the Thors can actually kill, like, Brute Lords, that's where they are phenomenal. But for now, we've seen a lot of Vikings die to a Zerg army that has no anti-air. So 10 Vikings have died, I think, to just, like, collateral damage from Biles. Maybe some Parabombs, maybe some Queens, but other than that, it's really just been, I think, Ravagers. Serel's still struggling, though. This map in general is really quite difficult for Zerg to play on. Alright, I think he's realized now that Brute Lords are indeed going to be the next step in Serel's master plan, so Thors are coming out. The nice thing about Thors is that they outrange Brutes, but of course, if there's, like, say, units in front of it, be it Zerglings, or be it the own Terran's army, be it Brutelings on the ground, if the Thors can't get within range, then the Brute Lords can be microed very easily. Of course, they have the benefit of being air units, and they can just micro back and forth the entire way through. Tough game so far for Serel, but he's really making the best of it. And honestly, despite the fact that this is a tough game, I kind of feel like he's outplaying Cure quite heavily. Just having a difficult time really getting the ball going. This army, though, is so scary, right? And that's exactly what Cure is playing so well here. Just hitting the bulldozer, right? He's basically playing a very... It's not a very delicate army. He's basically playing the sledgehammer, right? This is him just trying to take the warhammer to the opponent's side of the map and just smash him in the face. How many siege tanks have we? 43. 43 siege tanks, 18 on the battlefield right now. It's kind of nutty. The Brute Lords are here. Viking numbers, though, are looking pretty decent. Spore Crawlers are going to be needed. Queen's actually working away as well at the Vikings, getting a lot of value done. Zergling run by again, dealing so much damage. Cure is getting picked apart by Zerglings a little too much. Not just in this game, but also in the previous ones. Parasitic Bombs, Blinding Clouds. Again, he will be able to kill this base, but the question is, at what cost? This expansion has been denied now for the last few minutes. 38 SCVs is all that remains. In a very strange way, Serel has, like, contained his opponent on a very small eco. He's killed 77 SCVs. I feel like at least 80% of those could have been prevented. He said, come on, bro, just fight my army. Fight me off, creep, you coward. And Serel's like, nah. So we have to go back home. Back to the drawing board we go. Expansions reacquired, though, right over here on the right side. Cure looking to try and see if he can go around the site. Choke points over here are tight, though. And Thors, again, are a little bit of a derpy unit. Serel, again, using the mobility of the Zerg here to his advantage. Cure controls the watchtower, so he does see this coming in. No sensor tower in this area at this point in time. Again, looking very vulnerable to a Zergling run by. Brute Lords advancing forward. One little volley of their children will hurt the Terran a little bit. He decides to back up again, though, to the safety of the creep where the queens are waiting with their transfuses. This is a critical base for Serel, though. He kind of needs this one, so he has to stand and fight. This choke point is also about best case scenario. Viper over there, or Infestor rather over there, does get destroyed. Good split right here against the parasitic bomb. This choke point over here is so finicky for Cure to navigate. Zerglings again in the main base. Zerglings again in the third base. Serel decides to commit blinding clouds together with fungal growths. Really mess with the AI right there. Off those Thors a ton. Broodlord's trying their very best to just deal with them. And now with the Thors taken care of, the siege tanks are not going to be far behind. Perfect engagement right there for Serel. That was pretty hot. Not going to lie. That's just straight up sexy right there. And the way that Zerg is getting controlled in this game. I mean, it's getting kind of steamy here. Even in the games where Serel is not really looking too great, at least in theory, I feel like this is a Zerg loss. He's coming up with solutions to the way that he can control the game still. Look at the supply count now. As the dust has settled. 26 workers, 107 supply. Serel's at 68. These counterattacks have been brutal. Again, blinding clouds are here all the freaking time, man. How many Vipers do we have? It's just 2. It's just the same ones over and over and over again. Obviously, he's remade a whole load of them too, but it's only been 8 Vipers in total. This is nice, I guess, for Cure. Accidentally catches a bunch of those infestors with some randomly positioned siege tanks. That's better. So many resources, though, have gone down, right? And that's usually where Terran Mech is so strong. Usually it shines in cost efficiency, but Serel actually getting the more cost-effective traits so far throughout these games. And it's mostly due to these run-bys. These run-bys are just not managed well. Orbital Command is gonna burn down or bile down. There we go, it gets destroyed, and things are not looking good anymore for our South Korean hero. We have that Ravager. No, it's a replacement. Thought for a second it was still the same Ravager. There's again a pesky little Ravager over here on the right. Broodlord's going back in. Viking numbers are big, but they're clumped up. Fungal growth could be risky. Yeah, Serel hoping to get a good fungal there on some of those clumped up units. Because if he gets a fungal, he can wombo combo it as well with the parasitic bomb. And at that point, the Zerg army will be unstoppable. Calm and collected is the way that we approach this game now. Hellbats over here get intercepted. They can't even kill the Zergling on the watchtower, even though the Zergling really wanted to die. Ravager in the back. Oh, dude. These Ravagers, like, these are the type of plays that are just so tilting here as a Terran. So incredibly frustrating to deal with. There we go. Blinding clouds, parasitic bombs, fungal growths, corruptors swoop in. I mean, Serel's ready to give up on the hatchery. You really don't need to, dude. I'm pretty sure you can A-move and win the game, but why bother? Why risk it? It's not the perfect spot, right? It's not the ideal position. And when you're ahead, get more ahead is always good advice. Even though at this point it feels unnecessary because Cure is fully all in. Serel is inviting him into the third base, the expansion that he wanted to kill so badly. Serel even giving up on this one. There have been a few games in the past where Serel was overly aggressive and he like gave up very significant advantages, but this is pretty much unlosable. I mean, if you give me the Zerg right now, I could probably find a way to still lose. I'm not proud of that, but I'm fairly sure anybody that has ever played the game before would be able to finish the game from here, man. I mean, there's no anti-air, right? Like, that's the problem. It's 3 Thors. Soon to be 2 Thors against 16 Broodlords. Blinding clouds. Neural parasites! Okay, now you're just showing off. GG. Serel gets another very complicated win, but a win nonetheless. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Alright, maybe put it at regular speed, Loco. Jeez. I fast-forwarded to the 2-minute mark. That Reaper was going fast. That was the fastest Reaper in the West. Anyways, fastest Reaper in the East, actually. Cure, moving in. Trying to see if maybe he can get the job done. So far, I hate to break it to Cure fans, which includes myself, but so far, Cure is not playing poorly, but he's getting destroyed. Serel seems to be faster. He seems to be more strategic. He seems to have a better grasp on the meta. He seems to have all of the maps figured out to a T. I mean, that previous game in particular, that really was Cure's game to win. And then we still end up with a loss. I'm fairly sure that that previous game also really made everything so much harder here for Cure across the board. Like, mentally speaking, losing that one? I mean, you were maxed out with Terran Mech, and you were effectively sieged at the 3rd base. Yeah, you really miscontrolled the defense over at the 3rd, and I think that allowed Serel back into the game. Very tricky. Very tricky. Should have been managed much better. Obviously, that was only one of the things, though. Clumping up the siege tanks was another one. Losing so many collateral units to the corrosive balls in general. Just unnecessary and very avoidable. But also strategically, right? Like, after the first big push, it kind of felt like Cure wasn't sure what to do. Fighting in that choke point against Brute Lords when you know the opponent has Infestors and everything ready to go, it's risky. It's very risky. Now, interestingly enough, the unit everybody's been complaining about is the Cyclone. Did we see a single Cyclone so far in any of these games? I don't think so. Maybe 1 or 2? Probably not. I think we haven't seen a single Cyclone. And this time around, we're going Stimpec again, too. It's very odd, right? So, all the Zerg players under the sun are complaining about Cyclones. All the Zerg players under the sun are complaining about late-game Skytoss. And yet, when Serel goes up against Terran, when Serel goes up against Protoss, they go for neither of the two strategies. Because he has shown us that he's capable of dealing with it just fine. So we go back to the drawing board, but it kind of forces Terran into like these positions that they're not quite used to. Or Protoss as well, where they're like, hey, I always win playing late game with Skytles. Or hey, I always win the games with Cyclones. Like, what do I do now if I can't? And it's forcing them to make these, like, quite odd decisions sometimes, with the games just being really quite suboptimal. Easy kill right there on the Liberator. Not a good start right there at all for Cure. Although Cure is now adding on a whole load of barracks. So we're adding on 4 Rexes all at the same time. That's 5 Rex in total. 1-1 has been started up. This has been an exceptionally greedy early game here from Cure. Honestly, so far, the biggest struggle that Serel has had was when he forgot to make a macro hatchery. And that's not reliable. That's not a reliable advantage for Cure, right? Like, crossing your fingers and hoping your opponent makes a critical macro mistake is not the way to play. I mean, ultimately, StarCraft 2 is always going to be a game about the player that makes less mistakes. But that's a pretty significant error. It's not really something that should be happening, and not something that you should ever really rely on. I kind of like the Terran Mech game, though. Alright. Now, interestingly enough, Serel does have a Roach Warren again, but we have a fast Baneling Nest. Actually, no, we have a Hive as well in the back of this. I missed the Hive there for a second. Nothing odd at all. Ah, saves the Overseer here on top of the pillar. Man, Cure can't catch a break, man. Can't even kill an Overlord correctly. Oh, maybe? Ah, okay. Revenge. We have a Zorkling Highway here, though, on the far right side of the map. Persephone has a lot of speed circles adjacent to one another. I think Cure is kind of running into those positions, right? Where he's like, okay, so normally when I push with this attack, I win the game. But now I didn't, so what do I do? And it's one of those, like, unpracticed scenarios. Like, you have to be prepared as well to play the type of game where your opponent holds those sort of all-ins. Or those sorts of attacks. And if you don't know the exact follow-up, you're gonna fall behind against the absolute cream of the crop. I think that's one of his main issues. Lambo actually recently talked about that in an interview. I thought it was pretty interesting. Like, he says that one of his reasons for not performing at the absolute highest level compared to, for example, a Serel or a Rainer is because he spent a lot of time winning games when a lot of the guys were playing strategies, like, for example, Serel, that were technically not optimal when they were younger, but they still, like, did it just to practice their mechanics. So Serel has never shied away from playing late game. Even when the meta was to play Knight as all-ins. Like, he has always been playing late game. And it's created these fundamental mechanics that are just so solid that it's difficult to catch up now at an older age. It's kind of funny, man. Like, you hear the programmers talk as if, like, 28 is, like, you know, biological limitations. I don't believe it, man, but maybe I'm on copium. Anyways, Zerglings and Banelings are trying to see if they can close the distance. Drone gets away, but the hatchery at least is cancelled. Here we go again. Here we go again. Here we go again. 12 SCVs. Now look, this attack over here was good. But then we get slapped across the face in the meantime at home, and that just makes everything so much harder. Serel basically saw the army moving out. He's like, hey, that's a nice army. I'm just not gonna even really bother defending it, but I'll pretend that I am. While sending in a Zergling counterattack that you're not gonna be able to deal with. There's now Blinding Clouds available, by the way, and this is a fight that will be taking place in the speed circle. Not ideal at all for a ranged army that benefits from stutter stepping. Absolute disaster here for Cure. Zergling's coming in around the back as well. Now, at least he's going to be able to play the hatchery whack-a-mole minigame for a little bit longer as he gets another one. Army in the meantime as well, moving on the left. This is, by the way, once more 8 barracks here in total. And you know what? Okay, does kill another base. The problem is, though, he's killing the 5th base of the Zerg. It's better than nothing, but 5th bases are not as important at this stage in the game. Like, on 4 bases, Zerg can play Ultras, Lurkers, they can play Hive, they can do all the things. On 3 bases, that is not possible. At least he's getting some real hatchery damage done, though, this time around. Constantly sniping the base on the right, constantly sniping the base on the left. Credit where credit is due. Nicely managed right here by Cure. Serel not able to really get a 5th base up and running yet. Still, all of these other bases are fully saturated and completely operational. I guess maybe that's why we're going Hydras this time around again, and I guess Lurkers would make a lot of sense on the back of this. Hydra's a little bit better when it comes to cleaning up medevac drops. Planetary Fortress, though, at the bottom of the map. Only 65 workers here for Cure. He really needs to have more than this. Starts up another hatch. A Terran hatchery, that is. So at least he has another follow-up, but I wouldn't mind another round of SCVs. There's the Lurker then coming up. Infestors again, too. Very smooth control, by the way, from Serel across the board on both Infestors and Vipers. It's looking like he makes it look pretty easy, but it's actually one of the hardest things to do in the entire game. Like, all memes aside, nice drop over here. I have been pretty good at StarCraft. I peaked at about mid-Grandmaster or so. And one of, like, my absolute, like, most difficult things is using multiple spellcasters. Like, using 2 spellcasters is extremely difficult. Nice moves over here by Cure again. Serel making it obvious, right? That double spellcaster use is the way to go. Like, 5% Infestors just work together so nicely. Starport coming up. Fusion core coming up. So we have 2 more starports here together with a fusion core. Command center's moving around. We're going to be going for one over here on the left. One as well towards the far bottom right, I'm sure, if he gets the opportunity. But very soon, we are arriving at Nidus Worm play. And this is when Serel turns from a punching bag into a punching machine. Gotta work on that one. He turns from a punching bag into the puncher. Either way, he's still being smashed in the face a little bit, but soon the punching bag is gonna hit back, and this is so annoying. This is so annoying. Liberators are here, but you're gonna have to scan. If you don't have scans available, those Liberators are just not gonna do anything. There's finally a scan out. But already the Terran army is on idle, look. And this is exactly what Serel wants, right? That's why we're doing these pushes. It's not even for the cost efficiency. It's to keep this Terran army idle. And that's why Clem is so strong against Serel, by the way. Like, if you're wondering, hey, what does Clem do differently? Well, while he's dealing with all of this, he's also moving this. This army has now been idle for, like, what, 45 seconds? I'm gonna keep my camera on here until he moves it. There we go. Ay, ay, ay. That's where Clem is so dangerous. So, that's a straight-up APM limitation. Cure sitting at a... like, what, 400 APM or so during those moments? That's pathetic, man. You only press, like, 8 buttons a second. So embarrassing. But ultimately, StarCraft is very much so a game of speed. Now, APM is always a statistic you have to take with a grain of salt. But it is pretty noticeable throughout these games that somebody like Clem is faster than Cure. It's not just about being fast, it's also about being accurate. That's what she said. No, sorry. Lurker's on the left. Ooh, nothing here actually to defend against it, although there are some Liberators available. Those Lurkers are lined up very nicely. Okay, Serel decides not to take any chances. Nidus Worm, in the meantime, goes up in the natural expansion. Again, this army. I mean, it's done a little bit of work again, but not much, right? And that's a real issue. Every time the army is not moving, Serel gets to chill a little bit more. Now, he's chilling at a very high amount of APM, but it's difficult. Nice little attack over here, though, from Cure. It's not really headed any direction, but at least he got some value out of it. Command center on the left, though. Ooh, Serel actually decides to evacuate it? Okay, I'm a little surprised. I think he is surprised himself. He's probably like, I'll get it eventually, don't worry about it. Second Nidus Worm here also coming up. I think also a lot of StarCraft, like a lot of top-level performance, does come down to confidence. I mean, obviously, quantifying confidence is very difficult. But generally speaking, the players that win tournaments are the ones that believe that they can beat everybody. And I feel like a lot of players, and I'm getting that vibe here from Cure, maybe I'm reading into it too much, but I'm getting the vibe here from Cure that he doesn't really believe that he can actually win. The way that he's maneuvering around is kind of almost lazy. It's very different compared to the way that he played against Rogue. Like, when he played against Rogue, he was just in his face and multitasking like a god and really moving around the map confidently. But now he's like, please, sir, don't hurt me too much. It's like he's playing survival rather than to win in a lot of these engagements, and it's tricky. Nidus Worm's going around again. Cure looks very strong, though, when he's being aggressive, right? When he's the aggressor, like, that's when he's looking really good. Ooh, okay, yep, here we go again. The main Terran army is moving. Oh, so much damage, no reaction. No reaction there on the libs. Those libs are getting pwned. Little Zergling over here as well, blocking the expansion from landing. Nidus Worm as well in the far bottom right. Nidus Worm here still on the left, and at least Cure kept his base alive, right? At least Cure kept the expansion around for a little bit longer. That's good. Liberator production has now really kicked in. Interestingly enough, we haven't seen any Cyclones these games. We haven't seen a single Ghost either. How wild is that? Like, I feel like if you ask the average StarCraft fan, like, hey, what unit do you hate the most? Those are the units that pop up more so than any other. Maybe Widow Mines. We have seen Widow Mines. At least as far as Terran units go, right? Now, interestingly enough, Cure is also kind of not looking too confident these games, so maybe those are the two units he should have been making. I don't think his unit compositions have been poor, though. That'll be the end of this little push over here on the right. At least he gets 7 workers killed. Push over here on the left, ready to move in. Serel apparently wants to blow up the mineral line. This is honestly a little overly ambitious, but he gets the planetary fortress down, and it will probably force Cure to make a move. Have we still not landed this command center? Cure! Ay, 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 ay. He's still okay, though. Like, his army is big. His upgrades are significant. I would love to see some air upgrades for the Liberators, because he's got so many of them. 11 libs available at this point in time. Like, my problem is, I feel like Serel has gotten a lot of value throughout these games out of the Infestor Viper combo. And Ghosts are extremely good against Spellcasters, right? So, like, if, you know, one of your main concerns is dealing with Spellcasters, maybe that's also something you should be considering. Either way, he's busy trying to stay alive, though, here against these Nidus counterattacks. But he's doing a great job this game, dealing with the Zerg's economy, too. Serel never really had a lot of mining so far. Was that another command center dying over there? I think it was. Base over here on the left. I mean, at least it's protected, but there is no base. Okay. Cost efficiency-wise, this is really good, though. He's gotten a lot of value out of the army that he does have. I think Cure wants to move across, but anytime he does, Serel moves around. Oh, the Liberator count. The Liberator count is so big. 16 libs. More Vipers coming up right here for Serel. No Spire is actually... Like, he has a Spire, but no Corruptors is a little bit surprising. I feel like it would be a great idea against both the Medivacs as well as the Liberators. Serel seems to believe that abductions are the superior choice. It's a lot harder, though, to control. And obviously the awkward part is if you overproduce Corruptors, then you're not really able to do that much with them. Still, I think this army would greatly benefit from like 8 Corruptors just on a tech move. Anyway. Five Medivacs all coming up right at the same time. Anytime Cure is aggressive, the game seems to be going better for him. But anytime he goes back home, I feel like it's just not ideal. +3 missile, by the way, is going to be available as well for Serel in a moment. 21 minutes into the game. Certainly a little bit later than you normally get the maxed out state, but he gets there eventually. I really would have loved to see Cure, though, get some of the armory upgrades. Oh, Parasitic Bomb finally switches some of them out. Oh, lunge here to catch up the distance. But he gets another hatchery killed on the right side of the map, too. Okay. 3 o'clock base here is going to be going back up. Cure wants to see if he can potentially kill that one, too, and he now sees that indeed it is building. So he will be sending some of his troops in this direction. Yep. Easy snipe. One thing that Cure has managed really well so far this game is dealing with the creep spread. The creep spread is not nearly as oppressive as it has been in the previous games. And it's allowing all of this army movement, right? Like, Serel's not really able to find an opportunity to set his units up for the defense before the Terran's army arrives. And that's another hatchery down the drain. Army over here in the top right, though, overly ambitious. Not in the spot where it should be. Transfusion on the Hydralisk. Ay, ay, ay. Okay. Lurker over here as well, though. 3 Lurkers here as well in the planetary. What about the fight over here? Well, no Lurkers for Serel in this spot. Blinding Clouds can just be run out of, and that's another hatchery down the drain. We have now seen 9 killed hatcheries, and a bunch of them that got cancelled as well that are not part of that list. Okay. We've seen a ton of Liberators, by the way, in this game. I feel like we've also just, across these games in general, we've just seen so many Vipers. He's actually pretty good at keeping the Vipers alive. I feel like, again, whenever I play Vipers, they get about 2 spells off on average each. I think Serrel's Vipers on average are getting about 20. And that really does help. Liberator numbers, though, are still scary. 11 of them in total. They're all just controlled in one big ball, though, and that's a little risky, right? Burrowed circling again to deny this base. We'll probably see one as well on the alternative location there for Cure in just a moment. Retargeting from the Lurker there at the last second just to get some more damage in. 35 versus 33 workers at this point in time. Serel, by the way, did get the +1 air weapons upgrade, the +1 flyer, despite not having any flying units that benefit from it. I mean, the Vipers don't have an auto attack. Neither player, though, wants to add on drones or SCVs right now. The more workers you have, the less army you can produce. And at this point, it's all about having the maximum amount of army. Now, that is a whole lot of Marines and Marauders donated for free. Good guy Cure. Parasitic bombs again. Parabomb is 120 damage. Liberators have 180 life, so you can't quite kill them all in one go. Does take a while. Lurkers, though, still all over the place. Drop over here is quite nice. Circling run by over here is also not bad. Abductions now as well from those Vipers. Okay, Lurkers, Blinding Cloud. Ooh, Lurkers were not burrowed, however. Bit of a misplay right there from Serel, who's really, by the way, scraping the bottom of the barrel as well. He doesn't have a lot of money anymore. Cure tries to move in right now and will kill this hatchery in this exact same location for like the 10th time around. One Marauder at a medevac tried to do the same thing as well. This is the old main base right now from Cure. He needs to get some sort of mining going. Cure actually now at 9 workers. Another medevac goes down. This game is probably going to be decided very soon. Neither player is really in a position to like remake stuff. Now, throughout this match, we've seen a lot of Terran units go down willy-nilly. And that's fine when you have a lot of money in the bank. At this stage, though, Cure is broke, and you really wish you had all of those extra units that we have seen go down added into the mix. Another medevac with some troops inside of it. It's a bit of refinement that we are missing here from the Terran. The abductions here are just having a... Yeah, the Vipers here are having a great time. The abductions here are just a little bit too good. So we're inviting his opponent into the fungal, into the Nidus worms, into the Lurkers, into everything. And there it is. GG gets cold. And even though Cure has done a lot of work for his Terran versus Zerg, I feel like for the longest time, especially his Terran versus Protoss, it was phenomenal, but his Terran versus Zerg was rather weak. Lately, in all the games that I've seen Cure play, other than this series, he looks very competent against Zerg as well. Serel just seems to be one bridge too far. A little bit too fast, too strong of a micro player, too good of a macro player. I'm not even entirely sure what Cure could have done. I mean, across the board, he should have played better, but it's the worst case of advice for him, obviously.